What's the one thing a track couldn't live without? Yes, kick and bass. Specifically when we talk about techno rumble bass. And this video is all that. We're gonna talk about rumbles and you're gonna find out some stuff that you probably didn't know before. So you should stick around until the end. There's so many good tips in this video. And yeah, rumble is just so important. Kick and bass are so important for a track. So we're gonna cover something very, very, very important, and we have to carefully talk about it today. So let's not waste time and just start in Ableton. So every now and then we have to talk about kick, bass, rumble, all that stuff, because let's be honest, like as I said in the intro, this is the most important thing for electronic music, right? So today is all about having this fat rumble with your kick drum, right? Very techno-ish style. And those are a lot of rumbles that are prepared. You can download them for free. Just go follow the link in the description, right? And essentially we have a lot of stuff on here. Wow. That was not the plan. So let me take away some of these. I want to show you some of this stuff in the video today, and we're going to learn a lot about like techniques to do here, right? So first of all, let's talk about what's the most easy way to make a rumble. It's actually the way that we're going to spend the most time on today. It is the Reverb Rumble. So basically we have two chains here. One is empty, which is the kick drum, and the other one is here. It's the rumble. And it only consists of 3 effects. So the whole magic is happening through those 3 effects. Let's put this off here, right? So we don't have to play this. We have a kick drum here. It's from the new Peak Time Volume 2 sample pack. Definitely a very, very, very strong pack. So check that out. And yeah, so reverb, amp, auto filter. This is the whole magic. Let's start by listening only to the reverb. This is going to be interesting. So we disable the kick, right? We only have the rumble. Okay, this doesn't sound like a rumble yet, but what it does is it kind of diffuses the sound, right? This is the idea of a rumble. You have a kick as a source, and then you kind of diffuse it first. So basically you don't have a kick anymore. You just have like a wobbly tail of a kick somehow. So now if we add amp, be careful with the volume now. This is what it becomes. It becomes much thicker. It becomes much more sub heavy, right? And we can also put it mono here, which is very, very, very important. We're not going to talk about this. There's a whole video about this. It's linked somewhere here in the screen. But no, just keep it mono, okay? And lastly, we have an auto filter, which is just going to remove everything we don't need. Right, we don't need that. We only need this. This is all we need. There is a texture that's coming from this rack. We're going to talk about this in a second. This is what it sounds like. This is the rumble. So that's the most easy way of making those techno rumbles, and also the most like most consistent, I would say. This is like how most of the rumbles and tracks you hear are made. And then for sure there's different options to toggle it, like those are the most important ones, obviously, room size, and we're gonna have a look at this now. So there's very interesting techniques for shaping the rumble the way you want to. And actually, let's move to the second chain for this. Go here, and we activate this one, right? So basically that's like kind of similar, but it just has a lot more options to like shape it. So this is kind of the easy version. This is the advanced version. Let's keep it like this. And what I want to do now is I want to grab a analyzer like span. Let's make sure everybody sees that. So it's not, yeah, this is fine, I think. And yes, we want to have a look at the frequency of a rumble. So basically the kick is disabled and this is what we have. So if you're using span, which I'm really, really suggesting you, it's a very, very good plugin and it's for free. You can go to high resonant resolution, not resonance. Resonance is also cool, but resolution this time to high resolution mode, right? And suddenly it looks like this. And now you can see all the different frequencies that the rumble has. Like, let's compare this again to the default. Are you really gonna tell me this is readable? Like, is this a C rumble? Is 65 hertz the peak? I don't think so. This is not the best way of looking at a rumble. I would rather go with the high resolution, like this. And here basically we can have a look that there's 3 different peaks in the bass, and none of them is actually where we want it to be. Like, we have a kick in G sharp, so we probably want like a G sharp rumble. That would make sense, right? So this is something that we're going to talk about now, tuning the rumble, bringing it in shape frequency wise, and also thinking about which frequencies would actually make sense. So first of all, yes, having the rumble in the tune of the kick is a good idea. That's for sure, because there's definitely, like, you have to make sure then that they are like very, very well sidechained to each other, right? And nothing comes in the way of each other. But in general, you can't go too wrong with that. But at the same time, it can also be very, very interesting to have kick and bass on different tunings. Because, for example, think about it like this. If you have G sharp kick, G sharp rumble, right? It would be here. So we're already pretty close. It would be here. You have the peak at G sharp, right? But if you have, like, let's say a G sharp kick and a, I don't know, what could it be? It could be anything. It could be a C sharp rumble, right? Then you would have 2 very, very strong peaks in the sub area, like let's say one here and one here. And this would make the bass maybe feel a little bit stronger, right? So that's a very, very well-known technique to have kick and bass or kick and bass line, kick and rumble, whatever it is, on different tunes instead of having it on the same tune. So both is fine, like, depends on the track and the feeling that you want to have. And the question now is how to tune the rumble, right? Because why isn't it G sharp if the kick is G sharp? That doesn't make sense, right? Let's try, like, I mean, there's an A, right? So that would mean if we go down, transpose it down with warping on beats, 1 semitone, we should actually end up on G sharp, right? Nah. What's this? This is an F sharp, but it's not that loud. And then we have a B and a D. No, it's somewhere in between. What? So this doesn't work at all. Yeah, it's very, very hard to tune rumbles in the common ways. Like just tuning the kick will most of the times not do it. I mean, you can do different stuff like change the starting point and everything. There's different ways to customize that, but it's very, very hard to make the pitch like with the kick drum. So rather what we do here is move this knob, the room size. This is the most important knob, in my opinion, for rumble, because essentially it will change the frequency spectrum of the rumble completely. Like, just moving it from 100 to 106 is already a huge difference sometimes. So let's have a look at this. So that's the difference from 100 to 106. Maybe it doesn't look like the biggest difference of them all, but it's already like you could even hear that there is something changing. By the way, this video is not going to work on phone speakers. Please put on your headphones if you haven't realized that yet. Anyways, let's bring it down to 40. Look at this, the frequencies are dancing. And now we have this is an A. No, it's not a G sharp. Sad. Okay, so basically what that means is moving the size just a little bit drastically changes the tone of the rumble. So basically we can play a little bit of searching and catching. No, what's it called in English? The game when you have to find your mates who are hiding. I don't know. Leave a comment on this. So this is looking much better. We have like a G sharp now. We have actually like 2 different peaks, but for the video it's fine, I would say. So we could use this now as the rumble. And let's look at some more of those, right? We have the decay here. So basically changing the decay time, I mean, the higher the decay time is, the more the rumble will like decay in itself. So it will just get louder. It will boost certain frequencies. Most of the times that's like the higher frequencies of the rumble. But yeah, it's just a way to make it a bit fatter, and you can really, like, this is up for your taste, right? You can go down here and have a very soft rumble, but you can also go this way and make it growly, right? But notice that this sometimes also changes a bit the frequency distribution, so yeah. We have the amp type here, essentially changing the power of the amp. Also a matter of taste. We have the frequency. So this is really a question of how much overtones do you want here? Do you have other instruments that are playing in the range like 100 to 100? Do you have a bass line? Or do you want the rumble to be super, super big and close and like be one of the main elements of your track maybe? So then it would be nice to have the frequency, like the filter, a bit more open, right? Yeah, so now let's look at ways to make rumble even more interesting. Like we looked at the tuning, right? And there's different ways that we already talked about, having them on different pitches, same pitch, whatever it is. What about movement? What about rhythm in the rumble? Well, for me, the best way, and this is why this is in this rack here, is to use an LFO on the filter. So here, for example, this is a 16th note rate. And if I add the LFO now, let's have a listen. We get something like this, right? We can move it to 8. Yes, and that's the most easy way. I don't have to say anything more about this. By the way, those racks, once again, available for our mentorship people. So check out the link in the description if you want to know more about the mentorship. Now we should move on to the group and have a look at the group processing and what is important for such a group processing. So let me tell you about the different stages real quick. So first of all, right down here we have a little bit of saturation, right? And a little bit of saturation is always nice to change the dynamics of a sound a little bit, right? Saturation will act like compression in a lot of ways. So basically what you can do with saturation on a kick and bass group is to bring everything a bit closer to each other. If the transient is a bit too loud, you can like bring the low end a bit closer. Yeah, and it really depends how much drive you want to give there. At a certain point there will be like too much overtones, not necessarily too much, but there will be overtones, so you have to be aware of that. There could be this kind of sometimes hardcore sounding like tone on the kick, but it can definitely be nice in techno, so make sure to not judge that by the first opinion, but have a closer listen once again. Then there's like different ways to like design it. Here in this chain, for example, I applied an amp. So amp technically will, wait, we can have a listen to that. Let's disable that and we just go here. So if I add the amp now, right, we get a little bit of extra texture. Then we have a dip bell. So frequency and gain. So this essentially, I think a lot of times on the group, you want to have one frequency around the area of, let's say, like 150 to 700. This is why this is the range, kind of. There will sometimes be an area which feels very knocky, and it's oftentimes not so nice and also clashes with other sounds. So yeah, this is a good way of like just decreasing this a bit on the group, but you could also, just to make it even cleaner, do this on the tracks, right? Anyways, then we have a glue compressor, and glue compression is there to once again bring everything together, but at the same time, if you have a long attack, which is yeah, what you want on a glue compressor, you can bring the transients out a bit again. So this is like, it's actually very interesting to see that. Like, this is what the whole thing looks like before the processing. And this is afterwards. So we have to lower the volume actually just a bit. And now you can see that the transient is actually the same, but I hope you saw before it was gone that the rest was much more up, like especially the rumble, which was much louder than before the processing, right? Anyways, that's the glue compressor, right? And we have some texture on here. This is a very nice tool to just apply a little bit of texture. And lastly, the filter for using it in the track and some gain staging. This rack is also available for the mentorship. Also, because I talked about it in the beginning of the video just a little bit, side chaining is so important for kick and bass, especially if you have like a big rumble but still a big kick. You have to make sure one of them is like superior and the other one is a little bit like quieter and more in the back. But then again, you just have to make space for the other one. Like, look at this. This is what my usual side chaining looks like. Look at this. This is like 1/8 of the quarter, like the half of the quarter, sorry. So like technically this area here is completely ducked away. Like how many dB? 20 dB of gain reduction completely gone. We can even like do more. That's totally fine. And yeah, this is very important to have this done, right? And you don't have to use FabFilter Pro C. Like there's many different ways, like using the gain as an envelope shape here, right? You can just go here and essentially now you have your sidechain. You can use an LFO tool, you can use different compressors, you can use like some volume shaper tools. We have a video on this. It's also going to be linked somewhere up here. And yeah, make sure to watch this to see more about sidechaining. This video was mainly about the kick and rumble thing. So if you want those rumbles right here, we have a lot of different rumbles. Then you should head down to the description. They are available as a free download for you guys. I hope that was very helpful for you. And if you want to see more, I would love to see you back on the channel. So anyways, guys, have a good time and keep making music.